On my birthday, an amazing note from my granddaughter revealed an incredible secret. Don't eat the pie. My mind whirled as I sat at the large dining table, the laughter of my family surrounding me like a warm blanket, masking the stomach-tightening unease bubbling beneath. The cake loomed brightly before me, the candles glinting like tiny stars ready to be extinguished. But that note, so innocent, felt like a heavy anchor pulling me down into a tangled web of old memories and regrets. That I glanced around the table, my daughter Sarah with her short hair bobbing as she laughed at an inside joke shared with her husband. Emma, her bright blue eyes shining like sapphires, leaned closer, her enthusiasm palpable. Yet their joyous expressions twisted into nervous giggles at my confusion. "What's this about, Em?" I asked, trying to keep my voice even as my pulse quickened. "A secret?" It felt more like a puzzle I wasn't quite ready to solve. "It's a secret, Grandpa," she whispered, a conspiratorial grin stretching across her face. That innocence ignited something deep within me. Memories of my childhood flooded back, the sweet scent of my father's pastry shop enveloping me like a long-forgotten embrace. I remembered standing beside him, flour dusting our aprons as he showed me how to fold dough and whisk batter. But life had spiraled away from those simple pleasures. I chose the prestige of academia, the accolades, the recognition. The world of baking faded, replaced by lectures and journals, a choice that felt like a betrayal to the past I held dear. Initially, I dismissed Emma's note as childlike mischief, but a nagging urgency stirred in my chest. What was I running from? After years of academic ambition, was it time to confront the colorful legacy I'd stowed away? The recipes my father treasured were not just collections of ingredients, they were emblematic of love, tradition, family bonds. Each savory pie and sweet pastry was a reminder of a time when life wasn't measured by lectures published or grants received. Let's check the attic for my father's recipe book. The idea burst forth unexpectedly, thrilling my family while igniting a flicker of fear within me. What layers of emotion were buried up there, amidst the dust and shadows? As we rummaged through old boxes, I could see the shifting expressions of my family, the laughter that turned solemn as they uncovered items steeped in a shared history. Each recipe, each forgotten trinket, unraveled my tightly woven facade of success. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the bake-off approached a tentative decision I had made to reclaim my father's honor, I felt the weight of my past pressing down harder. Anxiety flooded my mind, conjuring old demons to dance before my thoughts. Would the community I abandoned accept me back? Would my rival from days gone by, the one who had mocked my abandonment of culinary dreams, reappear like a specter to haunt me? As I stood in my kitchen, the flour-covered counters bore witness to my turmoil. Emma's laughter echoed in my ears. Don't eat the pie. What if that pie held secrets and fears I wasn't prepared to confront? Would I choose to face that challenge or shy away once more? A wave of dread loomed larger with every stir of butter and sugar, pulling me deeper into the shadows of my own making. What lay beyond the oven door, a sweet legacy or bitter remembrance? The attic waited silently, dust motes dancing in the slanting sunlight as I descended the narrow steps, an old recipe book cradled in my hands. The pages felt fragile, yellowed with age, yet brimming with stories that whispered the life I had chosen to leave behind. Each handwritten note tinged with flour and passion tugged at a part of me yearning to be heard. I resolved then, this wasn't just about the bake-off, it was about rediscovering who I was beneath the veneer of academia. The kitchen loomed larger than I remembered, a battleground where memories of triumphs and failures mingled amidst the scent of vanilla and butter. The oven hummed gently beside me, its warmth a reminder of the countless nights spent baking with my father. Each clatter of pots and pans echoed through my mind, igniting a desire long since extinguished. Emotions swirled as I looked out the window. The green of the trees shimmered in the evening light, a reminder of nature's untamed spirit, yearning for expression that I flipped through the recipe book, each recipe evoking vivid memories of laughter, of struggles, of love. I began to see these pages not just as instructions, but as invitations. It was an opportunity to connect with my father all over again, to explore the father-son bond we had built through the warmth of the oven instead of the coldness of academic prose. The sweet memories of our time together enveloped me, puncturing the suffocating weight of my professional persona, allowing breath to find its way back into my lungs, but rediscovering that connection also conjured profound questions. Could I integrate the warmth of my memories with the cold efficiency of my current life? Doubt gnawed at me. What if my attempts were clumsy or worse, an embarrassing reminder of my abandonment of this path? Those thoughts scurried away like frightened mice when faced with the light of possibility. The bake-off could be my canvas, a space to experiment without self-imposed shackles. The day of the bake-off arrived with an anxious flutter in my stomach. The town square, usually teeming with life, felt foreign as I set up my station. I was surrounded by talented bakers, each displaying their creations with a confident flair I envied. The familiar face of my old rival caught my eye, and for a moment, the world shifted. His smirk told me I was not just confronting pies but the expectations I had avoided for years. The moment the first round began, adrenaline surged through me like a wild river. I focused on Emma's note as I kneaded the dough: "Don't eat the pie." Instead, I envisioned it as a challenge, a dare to create something from my heart. As my hands worked, the kitchen transformed into a realm where doubts dissipated. Every fold, every whisk rendered tangible my emotions, but partway through, doubt clawed back into my thoughts. While I was absorbed in my process, would anyone even appreciate the honest flavors of my creation? Would my father's recipes hold up in a competition, especially before the scrutinizing eyes of those I used to compete against? I felt the weight of it all, the pressure, the vulnerability. But beneath that lay a burgeoning determination to express the love and tradition I had buried for far too long. I whisked and stirred, breathing in the scent of evolution. This pie had to be more than just a recipe. It was the convergence of my past and present, a reflection of my true self. As I carefully arranged the layers, resolved to bring a piece of my life into this competition, I could feel old fears tussling with a newfound courage. Suddenly, Sarah's whisper pierced my doubts. "Remember, Dad, the essence lies in sharing what's real." I nodded, the words striking a chord within me. I wasn't here just to bake. I was here to reclaim my story. The timer buzzed, signaling the imminent end of my creation. I had crafted something born from reckoning, awakening memories long suppressed. With bated breath, I glimpsed at the oven as it opened. The aroma wafting toward me felt like distant laughter returning home. But would it be enough? Just as I poised myself for the judge's comments, the town bell chimed unexpectedly. With an unexpected twist, the crowd shifted and the familiar figure of an old friend emerged from the throngs, one I hadn't spoken to since abandoning my culinary dreams. How would I face him? Would this encounter unravel all I had built inside? The crowd parted, and there he stood, Jonas, my childhood friend turned unforeseen specter of the past. The look in his eyes flickered between curiosity and caution, mirroring my own swirling emotions. I hadn't prepared for this moment, not amidst the flurry of beats and sifts. Memories collided, laughter shared, dreams spun amidst flour and sugar, and ultimately, my desperate departure into a world of academia where flavors felt muted. His presence was a potent reminder of everything I had left behind. I felt vulnerable, as if exposed beneath blazing sun, the weight of unfinished conversations pressing down upon me like the heavy task of kneading dough. I had walked away from more than just a career in baking. I had distanced myself from the people who shared in those dreams. What was I to say, standing before the ghost of my past? Excuses began to bubble up, a defensive concoction of rationalizations I had fed myself over the years. Yet at the heart of my uncertainty lingered a deeper question. Had I truly moved on or merely built walls to hide from my old self? As the judges drew closer, scrutinizing the contestants, my attention wavered between my creation and Jonas. He approached, leaning against the station beside me, a mix of admiration and challenge in his gaze. "Looks like the kitchen hasn't forgotten your name," he remarked, an undercurrent of warmth and nostalgia trailing his words. He gestured toward the pie, its crust glistening, a promise trapped within its flaky embrace. Trying to remember how to be me, I replied, the honesty surprising us both. The implications of my words hung heavy, yet liberating. Don't know if it's good enough for them though. I gestured to the judging panel with a flick of my wrist, bitterness stirring at the thought of having to prove myself. Jonas's eyes narrowed, a mix of challenge and encouragement dancing behind them. Good. You've never been about being just good, have you? You pour your soul into what you make. That's what matters. His voice dropped, charged with a sincerity that cut through my self-doubt. For a fleeting second, I envisioned my father, guiding me through the symphony of flavors. Could I embrace this? The voice inside me rallied, defying the creeping shadows of disbelief. The familiar rush of creativity surged, igniting the desire that had lain dormant for far too long. Placing my hands over the counter, I felt the warmth of the pie radiate through my fingertips, awakening not just the flavors but the memories that imbued them with life. Emboldened, I turned my focus back to the competition, aware now that the stakes extended beyond mere technicality. Each ingredient was a note, every movement a brushstroke on the canvas of my past. I realized this pie was not merely my father's recipe, nor a product to be judged by standards of perfection. It was my own narrative unfolding. The incredible aroma with its depth echoed my journey, the struggle between fear and courage playing out in every layer. As the judges approached, the gravity of the moment settled around me. Would they see the layers of history I had infused within this dish? Would they taste the honesty and love simmered in each bite? But just as the first judge reached for a slice, a sudden murmur in the crowd diverted attention. An unexpected confrontation loomed, the figure at its center stepping forth. It was Sarah, her expression a combination of confusion and excitement, breaking through the veil of commotion. "Dad!" she called out, her voice resonating above the buzz. "You won't believe what just happened." Curiosity and apprehension rippled through me, intertwined beautifully with the sweet aroma in the air. What had she discovered that could unravel everything I thought I was beginning to reclaim? Would it push me further into the shadows or ignite a new flame of transformation? The tension crackled in the air like the static before a storm. I turned, half expecting Sarah to reveal a minor discovery, but the depth of her expression suggested something monumental. The judges' faces faltered, their perceptions distracted by the weight of her words. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach as the delicate world I had just begun to reconnect with seemed to teeter on the edge. "Dad?" she pressed, her voice holding a note of urgency. "I found something in Grandma's old recipe book." The brightness in her eyes contrasted sharply with the shadow creeping back over my heart. A recipe book? My fingers tensed around the pie, which now felt heavier. The memories of sharing time in the kitchen with my father and Sarah flooded my thoughts. A tinge of skepticism rose within me. What could possibly be significant about a dusty old cookbook? But then it hit me, it wasn't about the book itself, it was about the revelations that could unravel years of distance and separation. "What did you find?" I asked, my voice steady even as my heart raced. The honesty I had attempted to embrace began unraveling into anxiety. A small, folded note slipped from her hand and fluttered to the ground between us. Its presence felt like a door swinging open to a room filled with ghosts I had tried hard to forget. I couldn't help but lean down to retrieve it, the world narrowing to just this piece of paper. As I opened it, my breath caught. "Don't eat what you don't know the origin of," it read. Simple but layered with implications I wasn't sure I was ready to confront. My father's cryptic words echoed in my mind, reminding me of the times he had insisted on the importance of understanding one's roots, both culinary and familial. Jonas's encouraging presence faded momentarily, replaced by the questions spiraling through my mind. What had led him to write this? What was the origin of any ingredient, any choice, and how deep did the roots go? It felt like a challenge resting heavily on my shoulders, both terrifying and invigorating. "Dad?" Sarah's voice pulled me back. "You need to read the next part." A chill danced at the edge of my spine. I looked back down, scanning the paper as fear began to intertwine with curiosity. Would it offer clarity or cut deeper into the fabric of what I thought I knew? The next line made my heart stop. "If you want to understand everything we never talked about, you need to bake the recipes together again." Bake the recipes? My mind raced. What did that even mean? Had my father known something, a unified thread stitching his life into mine, which I had overlooked? The reflection of my past lingered on the pie, the same layers relevant to my present. The minutes ticked away, the judges waiting, the spotlight on me casting an oppressive glare. I was caught in a crescendo of expectation both from the competition and the implosion of the past aligning in this fragile moment. The tension became almost unbearable, as if I was perched on the cusp of a decision that would alter the trajectory of my life. What would I reveal to the world and to myself if I followed this path Sarah had opened? Would it liberate or bind me more tightly to the shadows? The world around me faded as I focused on the pie, each layer pulling me deeper into both my history and my hesitations. I felt the pulse of uncertainty with each breath I took. Was I truly ready to confront the intricacies of my heritage and the expectations I had carried? "Dad, you've got to make the choice," Sarah's voice whispered, pulling me from the depths of my thoughts. I closed my eyes for a moment, wrestling with my inner turmoil. The time had come to face not only the judges but my own fears. A new fire ignited, intertwining with the aromas swirling in air. As I prepared to take my stand, just as I steadied my gaze on the judges once more, I recognized something crucial. This was not merely a contest, it was an opportunity to reclaim my narrative, to explore the depths of my identity sprinkled with flavors from my past. But could I truly unfold this new chapter, or was it destined to remain an unresolved recipe in my life? The spotlight bore down on me, fierce and unyielding, magnifying the stakes of my realization. Each eye in the room was a weight pressing on my shoulders, yet within that weight was a newfound sense of purpose. As my heart thudded against its cage, I recalled the countless afternoons spent teaching Sarah the delicate balance of flavors, the joy of creating something together. Perhaps this call to bake wasn't just a recipe, it was an invitation that I inhaled deeply, feeling the warmth of the kitchen lining my memories. The way the flour danced in the air, the smell of butter melting the kitchen had always been where my family converged. It was both sanctuary and battleground. Those moments of laughter had been interspersed with arguments, unspoken resentment simmering just beneath the surface. The legacy of a perfect pie could unearth those buried emotions, tear down the walls, and bring us back together. "Sarah," I said, my voice steady and clear despite the chaos lurking in my heart, "what if we make this recipe together?" Her eyes widened in surprise, a flicker of hope igniting within them. Maybe my willingness to confront the past was a sign that I was breaking free from years of stubborn avoidance. But would this journey also skillfully stitch together the rifts of our family's past? I could see the shift in Sarah's posture, her brightened expression invigorating my resolve. We needed to know. To start the journey back together, to embrace everything that came with it, from secrets to silence. As I glanced back at the judges, their faces reflecting anticipation, I felt a mixture of anxiety and risk. Exposing this side of myself, diving into a pot of vulnerability and authenticity, could mean risking my chance at victory. But victory in the competition felt hollow compared to the potential healing this could bring. "Okay, judges," I announced, my voice carrying above the murmurs in the room. What's next is a challenge, one rooted in legacy, and I intend to embrace it fully. Before I even processed what I had committed to, adrenaline surged through me. There was no going back now. I motioned for Sarah to join me. Encouraged by my initiative, she rushed forward, her smile infectious and grounding. Focus shifted to the counter as we gathered ingredients, the chaotic dance of flour, sugar, and eggs becoming a harmonious chorus. With the first crack of the egg, I felt the chain of moments from my childhood linked to this currently forging connection. "Dad, can we add a bit of cinnamon?" Sarah's excited inquiry drew me from my contemplation. I nodded, happy to embrace improvisation. As we mixed, intertwined laughter filled the air, wrapping around us like a comforting blanket. The pie slowly transformed before our eyes, not simply a dessert, but a vessel of revelation filled with memories. With every swirl, I dismissed my instincts that echoed doubts, allowing new thoughts to break through. I wasn't merely piecing together a recipe, I was piecing together my relationship with my daughter. "Remember that time we experimented with Grandma's apple pie recipe?" I asked, eliciting a shared chuckle. "We nearly set the kitchen on fire." Yeah. And you claimed it was part of the recipe for extra flavor. Our laughter echoed, unfurling the weight of unspoken past. With each layer we created, I felt the tension in my chest lift, transforming into a determined clarity. I realized that it was more than a simple baking exercise. It was a reclamation of our narrative, one intertwined with warmth and resilience, but as the pie began to take shape, I sensed a pang of caution beneath the surface. What if this journey revealed more than I was prepared to understand? The deeper layers of truth nestled within the notes and memories became questions echoing louder. Was I truly prepared to confront our family's history? The pie slid into the oven, a tangible embodiment of our hard work and the willingness to heal. However, as the timer ticked, I couldn't shake the impending weight of the revelations still lurking in the shadows. As anticipation mounted, I realized, the journey was only beginning. What lay beyond the surface of this pie, and what secrets would be unearthed once it was revealed. The ticking clock reminded me that this new decision was just the first step into uncharted personal territory. As the timer buzzed, the sound sliced through the quiet anticipation in the kitchen, a decisive herald marking the transition from drafting memories to confronting them. The heat from the oven radiated toward me, akin to the warmth of unresolved feelings that had lingered for years. I took a deep breath and reached for the oven mitts, feeling the pulse of adrenaline course through my limbs. Ready? I asked Sarah, though a knot of uncertainty tightened in my stomach. She nodded, eyes gleaming with a mix of excitement and hope, mirroring my own trepidation. Together, we pulled the pie tray from the oven, the rich aroma enveloping us like a fog, vivid in flavor yet shadowed by what it represented. As the pie cooled on the counter, its golden crust glistened, taunting me with the promises of sweetness only a dessert could offer. But beneath that surface, I sensed the gravity of our undertaking. This pie was a bridge to the past, a statement to the future that maybe, just maybe, we could uncover the complexities of our family's story. Let us make the glaze, I suggested, grasping for something tangible to occupy my hands and settle my racing thoughts. What was meant to be a joyous venture now felt like a delicate surgery, each ingredient serving as a potential catalyst for unexpected revelations. We sifted powdered sugar into a bowl, and as I added water, I glanced at Sarah, her concentration etched into her features. This moment wasn't merely about baking, it was about rebuilding trust, taking risks, and facing fears together. Do you ever think about Grandma? She asked, breaking the rhythm of our focus. The question hung in the air, heavy with unspoken stories and dormant emotions. I hesitated, chewing my lower lip, grappling with how to navigate the conversation. Sometimes, I finally replied, feeling the words like stones as they left my mouth. But it's complicated. Why? She prodded, genuine curiosity radiating from her. Because there was so much left unsaid, I admitted, the truth slipping out like flour through fingers, messy yet cathartic. Her legacy is filled with love, but also disappointment. I never wanted that for you. The vulnerability in my admission appeared to affect Sarah. She paused, stirring the glaze slowly, deep in thought. But we're here now, she said softly. Doesn't that count for something? Her words landed like a gentle whisper in a storm, solidifying a bond one had long feared would shatter under scrutiny. Yes, it does, I replied, my hands momentarily stilled. Every moment spent here, together, is a new beginning. Finishing the glaze, we poured it over the pie, the shimmers reflecting our collective effort's sweetness draping over the bittersweet layers of our shared history. Yet as we prepared to cut the first slice, excitement tangled with apprehension. What would this pie reveal about our past? I slid a knife through the warm crust, the sound a crisp testament to our hard work. In this act, I felt the dawning realization that we were wielding not just a utensil but an opportunity to confront the truths hidden beneath layers of sugar and spice. Ready? I asked, my pulse escalating as I prepared the first slice, now poised for unveiling. Yes, she exclaimed, equally aware of the stakes. I set the slice on a plate and handed it to her. As she took it, a tingle of anxiety swept over me. In that instant, my mind raced with memories woven into every ingredient. Could our family navigate the brew of emotions that lay ahead? Holding my breath, I watched as she lifted the fork to her mouth. But just then, the kitchen door creaked open, and in walked my brother, Jim. The expression on his face sent a chill down my spine. "We have to talk," he said, his voice stark against the backdrop of our moment. The implications of that simple declaration loomed heavy, a shadow casting over the light we had begun to rediscover. Would this conversation darken the adjustments we had made, or was it a crucial turning point in our family's narrative? The beginning of exposure had dawned, yet true revelations were still hidden in the shadows. What truths awaited our confrontation, and how would this homecoming alter the course of my intentions with Sarah? I froze, the atmosphere in the kitchen shifting like the knife I had just used. Jim's presence, charged with urgency, instantly pulled me away from the warmth of the moment shared with Sarah. The pie, with its inviting aroma and soft glaze, suddenly felt trivial compared to the looming uncertainty in his eyes. "What is it?" I managed to ask, voice steady but my heart pounding. I took a step closer to him, instinctively placing myself between him and Sarah, a protective instinct that surged through me. I yearned for this moment to be everything I had hoped for, a shared family moment of joy and reconstruction. Instead, it teetered on the brink of conflict. "We need to address the past before we can move forward," Jim replied, each word deliberate, weighing heavily in the air. There was an intensity in his gaze that made my stomach churn. "Is this about Grandma?" Sarah asked, her excitement deflating. I glanced at her, desperate for our bonding moment to prevail, but fear crept in with every passing second. Jim's sigh was more than a breath, it was the weight of unresolved history between us. "Yes, and more. It's about everything that happened after. You deserve to know, and frankly, I'm tired of keeping it hidden," he said, his voice cracking slightly. "It's time for some truths." I swallowed hard. The nostalgia of our family's shared love battled with the bitterness I felt for the secrets that had long festered beneath the surface. "What kind of truths?" I questioned cautiously. The idea of dredging the past was daunting. I had hoped that by baking together, I could create a new narrative, one free from the baggage of our history. Jim rubbed a hand over his face, his emotions spilling into the space between us. "Remember the weekend we moved out of Grandma's house? The way everything felt? The arguments? The silence that hung over us like a fog?" A flash of memories surged back with fierce clarity. That chaotic weekend was marked by anger and confusion, the remnants of family ties fraying before my eyes. "Of course, I remember," I replied, a response laced with hesitation. But the truth was deeper. I had built walls to hide those memories, hoping they would wither away. "They never left," he said, the gravity of his words hitting me hard. "And they affected us all differently. We can't just ignore it anymore." Sarah's eyes darted between us, clearly feeling the fracture that was widening in the air. "What are you trying to say?" she asked, the naivete of my daughter colliding with the harsh reality of our family's disarray. Jim glanced at her, the conflict between revealing truths to the next generation and shielding them from pain etched on his face. "It's about your childhood too, Sarah. Things we never talked about. I thought we could protect you by withholding the details." "That's not protection, Jim. That's deception." I blurted out, a mix of indignation and panic erupting within me. I had built this facade, convinced it was for her well-being, yet here we were at the precipice of a revelation that could shatter the very foundation I sought to rebuild. "Still, it's time," Jim insisted. "Each of us has our version, but we can't heal if we don't share the truths that cut us deeply." The air thickened, and as I looked at Sarah, I knew this was a crossroads in our journey. How could I weave this complex tapestry of our past into something that didn't suffocate her? How would I navigate the painful paradigm shifts? This confrontation with Jim pried open the door to a deeper understanding, not just about our family, but about myself. My mind raced, reflecting on my own choices and the often contradictory emotions bound within them. Did seeking the truth justify the hurt it might inflict? Suddenly, I felt a spark of clarity amidst the chaos. "Then let us talk," I said, gripping the counter for steadiness. "Let us face this together. If we're going to heal, we need to confront everything." As Jim nodded, Sarah's concerned gaze bore into mine. I held my breath, aware that this moment might redefine our family narrative forever. But even then, a nagging thought lingered. Was I truly ready to face the shadows lurking just beneath the surface, or would unearthing those secrets engulf us in darkness? There was no turning back. I had to dig deeper, and the real challenge was waiting just around the corner. Would our attempt to reconcile the past illuminate a shared future, or plunge us deeper into a maze from which we might never escape? I leaned against the counter, forcing myself to breathe, the weight of what lay ahead nearly suffocating. The kitchen, once a sanctuary filled with the warmth of baking aromas, had transformed into a battleground of truths I had long kept buried. Jim had opened Pandora's box, and there was no ignoring the urgency in his voice. "Okay," I said, my knuckles white against the counter's edge. "Let us start with the weekend." The words felt like a stone thrown into deep water, rippling outward with each syllable. Jim's gaze flickered to Sarah before he spoke, carefully choosing his approach. "That was the last time we were all together in Grandma's house. Everything collapsed afterward, our relationships, our trust." He paused, collecting his thoughts. "I think we need to unearth the details that tore us apart if we are to build something new." My heart sank. Uncovering those details could open wounds that never truly healed. "But Jim, can we do this without tearing everything apart again? I don't want to destroy what little bonding we've managed to rebuild with Sarah." My eyes pleaded, searching his for assurance. "Sometimes, parts must break before they can be reconstructed properly." "I need you to trust me," he said, his tone filled with sincerity but tinged with the weight of the burden he carried. Trust? The word echoed bitterly in my mind. Isn't that precisely what we lost? How can I trust that this won't end in ruin? The skepticism hung in the air, greasy and pungent. "Experience can guide us," he replied, his voice steady. "Each scar has a story, but it doesn't have to define us." Sarah, caught in the crossfire, shifted uneasily. "Can we just talk about something else? Baking, maybe? I want to be happy, not dive into past stuff." Her youthful charm seemed to fade under the weight of our conversation. Anguish gripped me at the thought of burdening her with our family's legacy of pain. Yet, could we afford to shield her from the truth, allowing the cycle of silence to perpetuate? The thought of protecting her with half-truths began to feel more like a betrayal. "Sarah, you deserve honesty, not sugar-coated tales," I said gently, kneeling to meet her eye level. "If this family is to heal, we must confront what hurt us before. It's the only way to build a future worth having." Her brow furrowed. "But don't I have a say in what I want to know about the past?" "Absolutely," I agreed, seeing the resolve in her young features, a reflection of the very determination I lacked sometimes. "Just know that some answers may hurt, but avoiding the truth will only prolong our suffering." Jim nodded approvingly, "And think about it, the truth gives you strength to perceive your reality, not a blurred version distorted by filters." Sarah glanced anxiously between us, her childhood innocence grappling against the stark realities we were unfolding. "Then let us get to it. I can handle more than you think." With that declaration flowing fiercely from her lips, I realized how much she had grown in her own right. It ignited a spark of pride in me, even amid the storm. My daughter was ready to step into the fray, armed with the very weapon I feared: truth. "Let us start with Grandma. Tell me what I don't know, please," Sarah urged, her voice steady now, reclaiming her space in the conversation. As I took a deep breath and prepared to unravel the tangled threads of our family's past, I felt both trepidation and an unexpected surge of empowerment. Facing those memories wasn't merely about disclosure, it was the first step towards breaking the cycle of silence. But what was coming? I could feel the tension rising, and somehow, amidst our unfolding history, a troubling shadow loomed. I dared to question whether our readiness would translate into healing or merely uncover deeper wounds. What lay on the horizon? How would each confession reverberate through the family's foundation? As I opened my mouth to begin, the doorbell rang. A sharp, insistent sound that froze the moment, leaving our narrative hanging delicately in the balance. Who could it be, intruding on our reckoning? And what would their arrival mean for the truths we were about to reveal? I hesitated, the unexpected ringing of the doorbell echoing in my mind like a heartbeat in a quiet room. Still staring at Jim and Sarah, I felt the pulse of our primordial reckoning freeze in that instant. A relentless yearning to shake off this new distraction warred with the urgent need to face the past, the urgent, unresolved conflict that lay between us. What if it's someone from the past? Jim said, breaking the tension. Someone who might bring more chaos. That thought lodged itself in my throat, heavy and bitter. We had spent so long constructing a wary space around our fragile bonds, even the thought of an outsider stumbling in sent waves of anxiety rippling through me. But curiosity also pulled me. This moment felt charged, like static before a storm. What should we do? Sarah asked, her wide eyes sparkling with a mix of interest and trepidation. Answer it, I replied, my voice steadier than I felt. Let us see who's disrupting our talk. I stepped toward the door, the wooden floor creaking under my weight, possibly mirroring the nerves thrumming beneath my skin. That I opened the door to reveal an elderly woman standing before me, her silver hair cascading gracefully around her shoulders. She wore a vintage sweater and her expression was one of calm familiarity, which actually made her presence feel both welcoming and uncomfortable. My heart raced as I recognized her, Mrs. Davenport, our neighbor from Grandma's old neighborhood, a woman who had always been a part of our background, yet never really featured in our family's narrative. Hello, dear, Mrs. Davenport said, her voice warm but carrying an edge I couldn't quite place. I hope I'm not interrupting. Not at all, I replied, stepping back to invite her in, glancing back at Jim and Sarah. Instinctively, I felt them close up, retreating into silence. It was clear that they sensed the charged air, unsure how to interact with this unexpected guest. Mrs. Davenport's gaze drifted around the kitchen before landing on Sarah. Isn't she just a lovely young lady? Your grandmother would have been proud. Thank you, Sarah said quietly, her expression shifting from wariness to a hint of flattery. I actually came by to talk about your grandmother, Mrs. Davenport continued, her tone taking on a more serious note. There are some things about your family's past that I think would help you understand what you might be facing today. Each word landed like stones in still water, sending shockwaves through my careful plans. Mrs. Davenport had always been an odd arbiter of stories from the past. My childhood memories were peppered with her anecdotes of Grandma's spirited youth and the secrets hidden behind the picturesque facade of our family history. Why now? I asked, keeping my tone curious yet guarded. What makes you think we need to know? Her eyes crinkled slightly as she smiled at Sarah, then refocused on me with an intensity that made me uneasy. Because some truths should never remain buried. And your family has been living under a heavy weight for far too long. Realizing how the conversation was diverging, I glanced at Jim, who swallowed hard, the shadows of doubt painted across his face. Sarah stood between us, a living link to both the past and future, oblivious to the deeper implications of our family history, yet unwittingly becoming its custodian. Come in, I said again, this time more insistent. Let us talk. As she stepped inside, the burden of my words now drew closer. Truths that we needed to confront were about to surface with Mrs. Davenport's insights. Each step she took felt like a countdown to revelations that would stretch the fibers of our family history, perhaps irrevocably. As she settled into a chair, I could sense the walls of our fragile structure beginning to tremble, caught between curiosity and fear. What cracks would her words expose? How deep was the fracture that we had yet to acknowledge? I took a deep breath, glancing at my daughter, who looked ready to face whatever unfolded next. But would I have the courage to follow her lead, mayhap revealing more than I even knew myself? I felt the momentum shift within me, the past and its enigmas clawing at the surface of our discussion. What lay hidden beneath the surface, and how would Mrs. Davenport's arrival challenge our quest for understanding? As the tension thickened, I knew it was now or never. The truth awaited us, and it was time to find out exactly what it would cost. As the weight of Mrs. Davenport's presence settled in, the air intensified, laden with a mix of anticipation and dread. I steeled myself, knowing this encounter could redefine the fragile threads of our family's narrative. The time for avoidance had passed. It was essential to confront everything I had long relegated to shadows. Thank you for coming, I managed, sensing that Mrs. Davenport's motivations were intertwined with the truths we had buried so long. What do you know that we don't? Her gaze shifted between me, Jim, and Sarah, as if gauging how far to tread into the waters of our untold history. Your grandmother was a strong woman, but she carried burdens that shaped your family in ways you may not understand. Those burdens are still echoing today. I felt a knot tightening in my stomach, grappling with the prospect of dredging painful memories that could threaten the delicate cohesion we were beginning to rebuild. What kind of burdens? I asked, my voice surprisingly steady amid the anxiety thrumming through me. Mrs. Davenport took a moment, her expression heightening the tension. Your grandmother struggled with expectations of maintaining the reputation of her family and the sacrifices she made that echoed throughout her life. Sometimes she had to conceal truths to protect others. Protect others from what? Jim pressed, a mixture of impatience and urgency coloring his tone. From the pain of secrets, she replied, her gaze piercing through our protective barriers. Those secrets are part of the legacy you're trying to bridge today. A shiver jolted through me as I absorbed her words. We had been living under the weight of untold truths, our attempts to prevent pain inadvertently causing deeper fissures. Are you saying we have the right to know everything? Even their mistakes? The past teaches us, she affirmed, but you must choose how to use those lessons. A deep breath filled the silence. I turned to Sarah, who was quietly absorbing the exchange, her youthful features furrowing in thought. It dawned on me that the truth she sought and deserved had the potential to empower rather than entrap her. In that moment, the urge to shape a new narrative crystallized within me. Perhaps, I began hesitantly, it's time we allow the past to guide us instead of haunt us. Jim nodded, a newfound determination glimmering in his eyes. What's done is done, but we can face it together. I don't want Sarah to grow up in a legacy of silence. With inspiration coiling through us, we were ready to explore those shadows that genuinely needed light. It was a shared vulnerability, a way forward beckoned. As Mrs. Davenport began weaving stories, I saw a tapestry forming not just of Grandma's struggles but also threads of resilience and fight. I remembered her warmth as my father and I baked, transforming the very essence of our dishes through love and commitment. Stories can connect us, Mrs. Davenport remarked at one point, but only if you're willing to embrace the truth. And facing it means accepting its complexity. The sun dipped lower outside as she shared anecdotes from our family's history, filled with both triumph and turmoil. Each word pulled us closer together, stitching our spirits around a shared understanding. In the essence of baking, I understood, lay the principle of transformation. It wasn't always about following the guide precisely, but rather making choices fueled by heart and intention. And just as dough is shaped through warmth, care, and time, so was our family, molded by love, hurt, and resilience. Finally, after several stories that stripped layers from our guarded selves, a profound silence enveloped the room. I looked toward Sarah, whose eyes shimmered with newfound clarity. Guys, she began tentatively, I think we can heal. I really believe that if we hold on to the good and learn from the pain, we can keep moving forward. I felt tears prick at the corners of my eyes, a mixture of pride and hope flooding my spirit. There was something undeniably powerful about her words, an affirmation reverberating in my heart. Jim squeezed Sarah's shoulder, his voice thick with emotion. Your grandmother's story made her who she was, and ultimately led us here today. Now, we have a chance to change the tide. Together, I added, my voice firm. The power of our family's evolution surged through me, and suddenly, the fear that once haunted our discussions began to shift. Let us take the recipes of our past, I said, looking at Sarah and Jim, and bake something new. Not just with ingredients, but with honesty, forgiveness, and a commitment to each other. As Mrs. Davenport smiled knowingly, the promise of a new chapter unfurled before us. I felt a solid confidence birth within me. There was an unmistakable recognition of our steps forward. The shadows of the past would no longer loom large. With renewed resolve, I guided us back to the kitchen, where our pie awaited. It wasn't just a dessert, it had morphed into a symbol of our family's resilience, a conduit for healing and love. Together, we approached the oven, ready to face what lay inside, to share both the sweetness of the pie and the bittersweet legacy entwined within our family tree. I smiled at my daughter and brother, transformed through the lessons of our history, and felt a profound sense of achievement. We were not just baking. We were crafting a new identity, a shared story ready to be celebrated. With every slice of that pie, we shared the journey of reclaiming our past and embracing the future. Now was the time to celebrate the sweet flavors of life restored and the complexities of family that would forever guide us forward. If you found this chapter impactful, you need to subscribe now to ensure you never miss out on exclusive emotional stories that resonate with personal growth. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. It makes a significant difference in helping our community grow. Comment your thoughts, reactions, and theories about this powerful resolution. Your voice matters. Share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need a dose of inspiration and courage in their own journey. Don't wait even one more second to spread the power of personal transformation.